Hey everybody, happy Monday and welcome to How You Livin on Edge Radio TV. Hope you guys are having a good Monday so far. My name is Robin B. and good morning, Dr. Kiva.
Good who?
Afternoon, dagnabbit. How do you always catch me?
Because I'm always thinking it, but you say it first.
Yeah, go on it. I can't believe, and I practice all weekend. I practice. I said, don't say morning, don't say morning.
Well,
and I said it anyway.
Peace
and blessings, sister.
Mm-hmm.
How was your weekend?
It was good, just always working.
Yeah.
Did you watch any of the Super Bowl?
Not really. I'm not much of a sports person.
Oh, okay, because I was going to ask you who won.
Well, I know that unfortunately Tom Brady won again. I'm going to make my son mad because he loves Tom Brady no matter what, even with the red hat and all that. But
I wanted to see the halftime show at least, but
the weekend, and I was really baffled. I was surprised they only had the weekend because I think, and I say I'm not, weekend's okay with me, but I don't really watch sports. But I'm sure that a huge demographic of the Super Bowl audience, they're not into the weekend.
I know,
he's not even American. No offense, but he's not even American. He's British.
Oh, okay.
So they usually balance it out.
But he's this? I mean, from the music that he plays, it's not like I've never seen him dance and be entertaining.
That's exactly right.
He's no Beyonce or J-Lo.
Thank you. No Justin Timberlake. Justin Timberlake could carry it himself. He's no J-Lo.
Bruno Mars.
He's no Bruno Mars.
Yeah.
So if they had to share a stage, I'm really surprised. But now bear in mind, a lot of people.
I think they should have had Megan Thee Stallion.
Of course they should have had Megan. She has other songs, Body, which is very catchy.
I would have definitely watched it. I'm a Megan fan.
You know it, you and Jeff. I'm like,
I love her.
I said, yeah, but he's like, no, she's very talented. I'm like,
she
is she
like
really?
Just a fun, sweet girl.
I bet you she is fun.
I bet
you
and
she
everyone
is
who went to school with her that you talked to, they're like, no, she was always trying to beat and rap and dance and
she's beautiful. She really
I know.
is.
And she's a Houstonian.
She's just a Houston girl through and through.
Yeah, so I'm 100% supportive.
I think what happened. Well, I know last year a lot of people boycotted it. I don't know if you remember that. So they're still kind of boycotting it because of the kneeling situation, because of Kaepernick.
Yeah, but the weekend.
I know, girl.
Oh, you're talking about celebrity or performers?
Performers, yeah. So a lot of performers, their fans were kind of saying, hey, you need to boycott. Now, that's just what I hear. Again, I'm not a big fan of sports. I definitely don't watch. I just saw Weekend on the screen, and I'm like, why him?
And
of all the
I think
people.
her was there also, wasn't she?
I know. Well, if she were, I didn't see her.
Okay, I guess.
But he's not a universal entertainer.
No.
And I actually looked it up. I said, okay, every year before 2021 was at least 2 entertainers. So I was very surprised, to be honest. I really was.
I know, right?
Girl.
So other than that, how was your weekend?
It seemed like it was busy too. I don't remember. I never took a break yesterday. I never took a breath from the minute I woke up until the minute I went to bed at 11:30, maybe midnight. And that's a terror. I blame myself. That's not necessary.
No.
It's that nervous energy I have.
Self-care.
Yep, self-care. I am tripping. I really am. I have to work on that. I really do. But in the interest, or I should say in honor of Black History Month, this came in the mail.
Okay, so you got that in the mail.
Yeah, this came in the mail, and I'm glad it did because I knew something about they call it the Sugarland 95.
Yeah, from the prison system.
Yes, and we won't call them criminals. We will call them prisoners.
Right.
Because a lot of them weren't criminals. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So this book, I was very impressed that Fort Bend ISD, even though if it weren't for Fort Bend ISD, we wouldn't even know about them.
Well, I mean, for those that don't know, what's the story?
So what had happened was, Fort Bend ISD, as we all know, has a lot of money. So they were building this technical center.
Okay.
Beautiful, amazing.
And we're talking year?
This was 2018.
Okay.
So when they started to break ground, 2018, one of the construction workers unearthed a body. And when the more they looked, the more they found out that there was some history behind that body. It was really a burial ground for the prisoners of the Sugar Land prison system.
Mm-hmm.
And so what they started doing, they found 95 bodies unidentified, and they committed. Now, interestingly, the people who are committed to finding out who they are, who are checking their DNA to give them an identity, is the University of Connecticut. They went past Baylor, past Rice.
They must have some kind of database.
Maybe, but we have a lot of money. You would think that in conjunction with us, but the only entity I saw was University of Connecticut.
Because you know how some universities, they have a whole database that they've been studying for years and years and years, and they can do more DNA matching.
Right. I need to find out. And there's just one small excerpt I'd like to read on here, okay? Because to me it was very poignant.
So the prisoners, did they vary in age?
Now, see, I wish I was trying to find that, because I recall that they may have been as young as 15.
I feel like I remember hearing
and then maybe very old. And the saddest thing is that they were really just grabbed up to extend slavery.
So was it working for Imperial Sugar?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yes, it's now called Imperial Sugar, but it wasn't called Imperial Sugar then. But it basically was a sugar plantation. You're absolutely right. And a lot of them, I'll just read a little tiny excerpt, but this is very interesting. You might have it since you live in Fort Bend.
Right.
And it's been sitting on my desk. I said, let me pick this up and see what it's about. So they considered it a new form of slavery. It says convict labor was used to rebuild the Southern economy. Convict labor was even used to quarry and granite used. Convict labor was used to build Texas Capitol in Austin. And you probably know that.
We're not surprised at that.
Right. And I won't do a whole bunch, but this little part I thought was interesting. Although there were only 30% of Texas population, Black people made up 50 to 60% of the prison population. And this was least for high. No, not I'm like, whatever's right. The more we change, the more we stay the same.
Right.
You're absolutely right. And there's a lot on this, but it says it was not uncommon for Black men to be arrested for minor crimes and then given overinflated sentences, even called vagrancy. So if they were homeless, they were convicted of vagrancy and then put to prison and then put to work. So, I mean, this is anyone who has any interest should look this up.
But isn't that the same with the prison system in Idaho? Because they were doing potatoes and so that's who farms the land where the prisoners.
And that's not the South.
Yeah.
So it's kind of all over the place. That's pretty sad.
Yeah, the South kind of sometimes gets a bad rep. However, it was just that in the South we dealt with more land and property, and so
agriculture.
They worked that way.
Yep.
And the North didn't have that, so they had to do more mine kind of things in industry. Wow. So we were just, land here, and they were
hard labor.
Exactly. So that's the real difference.
Right. And then look at the White House. I mean, DC, that was built by slaves. So
because it wasn't like they were doing better, Blacks were doing better up north. It was just because the Quakers were up there, and so they kind of influenced that. They thought it was wrong.
I didn't know that.
But also up north, that's when they were fighting more with Europeans, saying, the Boston Tea Party, and that's why they fought. Wow. But ultimately, it was still just based on industry up north and agriculture in the South.
Wow, that's pretty sad. And you know what? That's a lot of people were under the influence that the North was kinder to the Black population. Not necessarily.
They're the ones still
it's all propaganda. Right. Thank you. Thank you. I mean, our prison system's out of control.
We'll let y'all they'll count them as 2/3 humans, but you still get to use their vote. They don't get to tell you how to use it, but you still get to use it.
That is so right. This is why, and then on that, because you know so much, and I'm not aware of all the things you just mentioned, but Utah, the state of Utah, or their school system, I think Utah, they have allowed the parents to opt out of Black History Month. So their kids don't have to learn anything about Black history, which is why we need people like Val Thompson. And do you have something you want to talk about?
I mean, I guess
we can bring in. Let's bring him in.
Val real quick, because Val is going to come and tell us more about what happened with the slaves and how they were how they wanted to put them in different places. I won't give too much away.
But let's talk about that T-shirt, because it's kind of part of the same thing. This woman Dr. Kiva has a message every week.
What does it say?
We out.
We out.
And that's how Harriet felt. I love it. She was very progressive. That's it. I love that T-shirt. I'm telling you, girl, you need to start your own collection. You really should.
And I'm just going to pick up your quotes and go, okay.
That's good. See, that's a moneymaker. That's a smart woman right there. She's a moneymaker.
Moneymaker.
So yeah, guys, we're going to learn a lot. One of the most important parts of our American history, African American history.
Yeah.
Period.
It's going to be quite interesting, quite educational.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
so without further ado,
we'll take a little short break, and when we come back, we'll have Mr. Val Thompson, and he's going to educate us on the relationship between Africa and America slaves.
Yeah. Be right back, guys.
Are you a small business owner concerned about the downturn in the economy? Top business leaders like Mattress Mac and Warren Buffett will tell you that now is the time to promote your business more than ever. People need your services. Your business needs an edge. Learn about special advertising packages for small businesses right here on Edge Radio. Find out more, give us a call at 281-744-0446. That's 281-744-0446. Edge, because truth still matters.
And welcome back to How You Livin on Edge Radio Live. So today we have Mr. Val Thompson, who's going to educate us on all things
Liberia.
Yeah, all things Liberia.
I keep thinking that Michael Jackson song. Remember that Liberian girl?
Oh,
I love that song. Maybe we'll get Val to sing a little bit for her.
We'll pay for that one. So good morning, Mr. Thompson.
Good afternoon, Mr. Thompson. Gotcha.
Good morning. Can you hear me?
Good day, sir.
Yeah, good morning, Robin and Dr. Kiva.
It's good to see you again.
Great to see you guys.
And we promised we were going to bring you back. We needed to hear about this.
Exactly.
Oh, yeah. How are you living, right? I'm living quite well. Thanks for asking.
I believe you are. You look like you're living well.
I know. So for our
great.
For people who aren't aware of who you are, could you give us a little synopsis of Mr. Val Thompson?
Well, I am the president of Houston International Trade Development Council. The council was established in 2008. We have traveled, I don't want to say all over the world. When people say all over the world, nobody's been all over the world, but we've been to East Asian countries. We've been to Central and South American countries on travels, trade missions, and Africa. A lot of countries, and I've been to 12 countries in Africa. I also was in the African art business for a moment as a wholesaler. I didn't have a gallery or anything. I supplied galleries. And so we only have a little time, so that's probably, it would take a couple of weeks to tell you too much more about me. But the reason I'm here is probably because I'm president of Houston International Trade Development Council, and we organize trips to Africa.
Nice.
And so your next trip is going to be to Liberia? Monrovia?
To Liberia, the Republic of Liberia.
Okay, so we would love to hear the story, because you're the first person who ever introduced the story of Liberia to me. And there's still a lot I don't know. So how did the country of Liberia become?
Okay, since we got a little time, I'm gonna do a little storytelling. Okay,
That's great.
I first, I had never been to Africa until I was in my late 40s. And the reason was that my son and daughter was involved with a project with former President Jimmy Carter's international, what was the name of that? They build homes, Habitat for Humanity.
Yeah.
And they were building homes in Ghana, in Kumasi, Ghana. And they were going on a 9-month project. And I'm like, wow, I've never been to Africa. So I said, hey, you guys, can I go with y'all for a couple of weeks? And they said, sure. Of course they said, sure, right? And so we traveled to Ghana. And I'm telling you, the moment I got off the plane, I was in a trance. It was a spiritual visit. I just fell in love with the continent. And so then I decided I said, I got to do some business here, something. And I didn't want to get involved in all the political things that you would have to if you got in some of those heavy industries like oil and gas or something. So I looked around and I saw the art. I'm like, okay, I can do the art. All you got to do is buy it off the street from these street vendors, bring it home and sell it. So I started shipping container loads from West Africa, which Ghana is a regional art center. But while I was there, spending time with my family, I asked my son, I said, this is a spiritual visit, man. I got to get back to Africa. How come African Americans haven't found a place to call, if not their own, at least a partnership with the government, right? So my son said, well, it's been done. Now here I am, nearly 50, and didn't know this. Like, I would say 90% of our African-American population probably don't know the history of the Republic of Liberia and how it was established. And so I what? Are you serious? So I did my research. Yes, I did my research on the continent and found out that the Republic of Liberia was founded by freed African-American slaves. So, of course, my interests were piqued, and I decided to visit Liberia in 2005. They were just coming out of a civil war. There were 15,000 UN peacekeepers there. There was the wedge between the conflict between Sierra Leone, Cote d'Ivoire, and Liberia. It was a bad time for the country at the time. Oh, I see you showing the flag, and if you'll notice, that flag represents the United States flag. It looks like the United States flag, and I'm sure they chose it for that reason.
Right. You know what?
Stars and Stripes forever, right?
I'm thinking they put that one star with the intention of adding to it.
Exactly.
And that was
the intention of being a Lone Star State of Africa.
Mm-hmm.
There might be some intentions there. I don't particularly know if that was there. But anyway, I visited Liberia and just fell in love with the history. The history is amazing. We don't even have enough time to really get into the history, but we can skirt the edges of it and find out the most important things about it. It was a very exciting. I started buying art there. I started getting involved with some of the people, built relationships there. And of course, I've organized several trade missions. I've probably been to Liberia 15 times, just to guess a number.
So is it very industrialized?
It was right coming out of the Civil War. It was destroyed at the time. The first trip I made it, but they're coming around. They're rebuilding. But it opens a real opportunity for business. The countries that offer the best opportunities, for small business and African Americans are those who are undeveloped. And Liberia at one time, though, which in the late 1800s and early 1900s, was considered the pearl of Africa. So it was the first, it was developed. It was the first country that had been liberated. It was the first republic of Africa. And it was declared a republic in 1847. This is when they got their so-called independence. Now, some would say that the Republic of Liberia has never been a colony, but in some ways it has.
So
but it's considered.
The slaves went to.
I'm sorry.
So when the slaves left America, and they went to Liberia, didn't they also make some of the locals work for them? Didn't they end up becoming like almost servants for the Americans that were there? The slaves.
Yeah, that was the original intent. If now there's several perspectives, right? The original intent for the American government, for example, was to create a colony. However, secretly, between the first settlers, which 88 African Americans, along with a naval ship of the U.S., went to Liberia. Now, the intent, the government's intent was to create a colony, right, where they could have the same as the Brits and everybody else had colonies and the French. But there was secretly between President James Monroe and the settlers was to go to West Africa and create an opportunity for African Americans to have a state in Africa. That was secret because, as you know, most of Congress and most of the Southerners wasn't subscribing to that idea because they're talking about losing their labor if all the African Americans go back to Africa. So it was a secret idea between the President of the United States, and then he was rewarded with being honored the name of the capital city. That's where the capital city named Monrovia comes from, the President James Monroe.
So how were they chosen? Did all of these founders of Liberia come from different parts of the U.S.?
Mostly northern states. It had to be because we're talking about 1820.
Because they were freed slaves. Is that why?
They were free slaves and probably some runaways, that sort of thing. But they traveled from New York, and their first stop really wasn't Liberia. It was the country of Sierra Leone. But there was, Sierra didn't really suit what they wanted to do, so they traveled a little south and landed in Liberia on the island, Providence Island, where they first landed. But they went there as slaves, basically. Well, not slaves, they went there as laborers, but they would have been slavery right on, to help create this American colony. That's the real truth behind the intent of the first visit. But the settlers, they all knew that this was an opportunity to create a republic that freed slaves or runaways or whatever you want to could come to Liberia and establish their own citizenry in that country.
So how? Well, I think the locals, they didn't like that necessarily if they were working for the I don't know what you
former slaves.
Former slaves. So wasn't there a rebellion against it, or after a while they was like, hey?
Yeah, that was definitely a rebellion, if you want to use that term, because there was indigenous people already there.
Mm-hmm.
However, it wasn't a republic, it wasn't a country or anything like that, but there was indigenous. And so now you have African Americans who's created a different culture altogether, coming in on a culture that they knew nothing about. And that's why I'm so impressed with the founders, because rather than to be slaves, they were willing to go to a foreign land. And at this time, these people were born in the United States. So now when they go into Africa to create a republic in West Africa, they're going to a land they know nothing about. So it would have taken the boldest of our ancestors to even want to do this. It was a volunteer thing. It just, I'm glad you asked that question a moment ago. How were they chosen? They were volunteers.
So what's the general condition there now? What's the situation? How's their government looking?
Oh, they're looking great as far as, I mean, it's an undeveloped country. Let's get that out first. But they do have a government who, as I think I mentioned in your last show, was built up exactly like the United States government as far as 3 branches of service, administrative, legislative, and judicial. They have all that, so we would understand that perfectly. They have a president, they have, senators, they have
a legal system,
Supreme Court judges, on and on. We would definitely understand the government. Even their Constitution, word for word,
to be there.
Or a few minor pieces in the Constitution, word for word, to the U.S. Constitution. So very understandable government when it comes to an African or any American understanding how they operate.
But it is safe travel.
Oh,
because
sure,
when you,
sure.
I mean, not knowing, because you look at certain pictures that you come back and you're like, oh, okay, is it civil unrest or what's going on?
Well, unfortunately, what you'll see in the media, and I love the media. We're all media, right?
But some media, mainstream media.
But unfortunately, as you know, they've already, media for one reason or another always promoted the African Americans' endeavors. There's something wrong with it.
So do you ever feel unsafe?
Show you the absolute worst of conditions.
Of course.
But as I told you before, I've been there 15 times, and you see I'm still here. I'm alive, right?
Thank goodness. So you obviously don't have to wear Kevlar when you go there. You just land and go stay at a hotel somewhere, and you walk around town.
Absolutely, you can walk around town. You can visit. They have rainforests. The climate is never colder than 75, never warmer than 90.
Oh my God! That's me right there. Are they? And they're on the water, aren't they?
It's tropical, on the water.
Oh my goodness!
I tell you what, it's a paradise. I would say a developer's paradise. You got 360 miles of coastal area that's white beach sand. 360 miles undeveloped coast. So if one wanted to start developing, some sorts of resort or what have you, perfect location for that when it comes to Africa.
Let's take a little short break and we'll find out more about some of the settlers of Liberia and what we need to do to go.
Yes, especially that part.
So we'll take a little short break and join us when we continue the conversation of Liberia and America with Mr. Val Thompson. So we'll be right back.
The Natural Nation Network is really about taking control of your health physically, spiritually, emotionally, even intellectually, because there's so much out there in misinformation. There's a lot of people now that are suffering from all sorts of diseases that they really wouldn't have to suffer for if they had better information. And that's what we're here to do. Provide information that can save lives.
The mind and the body are totally connected.
Health can be really serious, and sometimes we just have to lighten it up a little bit while we're still providing substantive information.
And my sort of mantra on the salsa dance floor is kind of similar. I tell somebody, if you make a mistake twice, it becomes a move. Okay.
Tune into Natural Nation every Tuesday at 11 a.m.
And welcome back to How You Livin' on Edge Radio Live with Robin B and Kiva D.
I like that. All right.
So we're talking with Mr. Val Thompson about Liberia, all things Liberia and America. So when is the next time that you're going to go, and can other people join you?
By all means, I have a trip planned for November 4th through 12th. That's considering post-corona,
right?
And you know, the way we're taking these shots now, I think by that time we'll have that down. Then we also have to look at, you know, see what the conditions are in the Republic of Liberia. Let's hope that both are doing well as far as you know, beating the coronavirus, and then we can travel.
Hey, when you go, do you have to take the malaria shot also? Don't you have to do malaria?
Yeah, that sounds right.
Yeah, you have to. Yeah, you have to. Well, malaria doesn't come in a shot form. You take pills for that.
Okay.
But there's one for yellow fever.
A yellow
that
fever.
You'll have to take. Going to any West African country.
Do you have to take them every trip, or is it?
No, it's a 10-year shot.
Okay.
In fact, it's probably a forever shot, but they tell you 10 years so you can come back, I guess, and they make a little more money off you. But once you've had it, you know, you're pretty much good forever.
Okay.
So do you have a lot of Americans? Because I know a lot of Americans, they go to Ghana. Right. And they get, you know, property and
Tanzania.
And live in Ghana.
That's a big one too.
So have you noticed a lot of expatriates going to Liberia?
Yes and no. It's not going to be like Ghana. Ghana has 30,000 African Americans living there. Okay, so it's a huge African American community. I've been there. I've met with the African Americans, and the reason is Ghana is a little more developed. Honestly, it is. It's more developed. They've been working on this a long time. They did a great job with their 1619 project, where they invited African Americans to come. They did a great job. I got to give it to them. But the Liberians, I really don't know the population of African Americans living there, but we do visit. You know, African Americans visit the Republic of Liberia, and those who do get excited about it because the history is amazing. That's one thing that, you know, I've been to 12 African countries, not to brag, that's 54 of them, so I'm not saying I know everything about Africa.
Well, you've been to 54 more than me.
But I've been to enough African countries to know, for the African American, if you're looking for power, if you're looking to have an opportunity to participate in a development, it is the number one for me. And again, I don't have any prejudice to any African country, but I'm just, you know, and from a pragmatic point of view, I mean, Liberia for us is an amazing place. And there's another perspective now. You know, the original intent of the U.S. government was to have a colony there, correct? So all they have there now is an embassy.
Right.
Okay. So we're talking about a 200-year-old idea.
Right.
That has a whole nother view now.
So blacks get rules over there.
Or can you get dual citizenship?
Can you?
Yeah, you absolutely. It's in their constitution that any African,
just like the U.S. It's basically the same.
Well, I mean, if we go all the way back, to establishing the republic, it's in their constitution that they can you can be African and been captive on the high seas as a slave. If that ship makes it to Liberia, you're automatically Liberian.
Wow.
This is in their constitution.
So how many people do you usually take on your, I like to call them a pilgrimage, so to speak, when you take your mission trips to Liberia?
And what's the cost?
Yeah, good question.
Well, you know, the cost can be, you know, I don't know I don't know right now. I'm gonna be honest with you. This is a little too far out. But you know, in past trips, they average around $4,000. Now that's everything. That's your hotel, that's your airfare, that's all the activities that we're going to participate in. The only thing I don't do is feed you. I give you the option to bring crackers and Vienna sausage if you want.
Now, what is it, like a 20-hour flight?
Yeah, it can be. It's all about who you're flying with. Delta has the shortest flight would be by way of Ghana, Accra, Ghana. That would be from Atlanta, Georgia to Accra, Ghana, and then you skip over with another hour flight.
How far is it from Atlanta
Monrovia.
to Ghana?
Now that probably wouldn't be any more than maybe 15 hours.
Okay.
But if you went Air France or any of the airlines who travel through Europe, yeah, you're going to be looking at 20 hours.
Okay. Good to know.
Yeah.
So now
we're trying to do something about that, though. We're trying to,
that would be nice.
Is Ghana
get some airlines to jump on board?
Not Ghana, but is Liberia the sister city to Houston?
No, there's no sister city in Liberia that's Houston's sister.
Well,
before
we go down there, could you explain what sister city is? Because when I say that to people, they're like, I never heard of that before.
You're the first person I've ever heard it from. So yes.
So could you explain the program?
I'm glad to, because there's only one sister city on the entire African continent that's a sister to Houston, and that's Luanda, Angola. So we wanted to do something about that. We wanted more African cities to sister up with Houston. Now, to give you the history of sister cities, it was founded by President Dwight Eisenhower in 1956. And the purpose was that after World War II, most of the world was destroyed in a lot of places, and he felt that by creating this initiative, that people can get to know each other and be less likely to go to war, if they get to be friends. And he chose cities as the conduit for this initiative. In other words, you would take a U.S. city and they would sister with a foreign country city. Mm-hmm. And then with that city, then they would create student exchange, cultural exchange, business exchange, and so forth. So it's a way of exchanging ideas and so forth. So it's a great program. They're usually nonprofit organizations. So it's a way to raise funds if you want to have a project. We have a project. As soon as we can get our sister established, we want to build a museum to recognize the first settlers to come to Liberia. Now they have a museum that has artifacts from that era, mm-hmm. but we wanted to do something grander and a little more special. And then on their side, you got to do something for them too. We plan to help them with their cultural center they like to have. And these two things will be close to each other, and they'll be on the coast. Beautiful site. Liberia is tropical. If you ever travel though, you'll see the potential.
I can't wait to see it. I can't wait.
You're gonna go to Liberia?
I want to go to Liberia. Absolutely. As long as Val's there, I feel safe.
Now, how is it that we have a sister city, someplace in America, that's sistering another country, right, so that we can exchange cultures,
right?
But in Utah, they don't want them to know about African American history, and that's local.
Isn't that sad? Val, did you hear about that?
I just heard that, and I was listening to you guys when you first came on. I found that interesting. I was hoping y'all give me a little bit more. Some of that I didn't know, especially about the Sugarland find.
Did you know about the Sugarland 95?
Yeah, I didn't know it. I'm listening to you. I'm like, keep going.
This is why it's so important. This is why this whole month is what we're focusing on.
Yeah,
because this whole existence,
our whole year. Let's make this a
365.
Year. Thank you. I saw that on your hashtag. Thank you, sister. That's right. It's a 365 situation. Now I was wondering, how are the other countries getting along with Liberia? Do they receive them?
Since they were almost
you
Americanized a little
exactly.
bit. It is Americanized. Like, for example, you don't see the yellow and gold and black and all that African design clothes and all that. You really don't see that in Liberia. You see it, but it's not, it's not part of their culture. They're very Americanized, and they get along very well with the other African countries, mainly because they understand the relationship between the U.S. and Liberia. You're not going to hear anybody taking over Liberia. And that's the beauty for us. That's what's wonderful for us.
So what about language?
Here's the thing, language and religion. And so did they bring also Christianity, or are they still using like African spiritual traditional religion?
Good question.
No. They're Christians.
They are.
The first Presbyterian, I had his name, I slipped my mind, back in 1820, the first Presbyterian black pastor went over there and started that church, and the Catholics are there. Also the Muslims are there, but it's probably, I would say it's 75% Christian. And again, the English, the language, the official language is the English. They also speak an African language called Twi that you will hear in Ghana or Nigeria.
Twi.
But the official language is English, and you're going to hear
That's
English.
Good. So you could travel there and be able to communicate and not be really concerned about communication.
Right. And just to touch back on what you had said earlier about security, I can tell you right now, I'm going to use the term revered because it's almost that good. African Americans are revered in Liberia. I mean, it's a sin to hurt an African American.
We need to all go over there.
You heard an African American. Most of their funding comes from the United States. Not enough. And that's what we're going to be working on to get enough.
All more the reason.
Foreign aid to Liberia. That's what we're going to work on. But even now, most of their funding through USAID and foreign aid from the United States government goes to Liberia. Most of their funding goes to Liberia. So to do anything to hurt an American, period, is detrimental to your health and your freedom.
Yeah, speaking of health, I wonder, with the whole health system, because you know how when you go to other countries, they have better health care than we do, and they take care of their citizens a lot better than Americans.
Universal.
So how are they with? Do you know about that kind of structure as far as health care and
the health system is weak. It was exposed by Ebola. That's one of the silver linings of Ebola. If you had to find something that had exposed their weak health care system, but they're getting better now, and that's another area that we're going to be working on when we get that city set up, because then we'll be able to go to funding areas, go to these wealthy people who want to help. We can go to them
they have some extra money.
And help with that. All the areas, healthcare, development, education. We're going to be working on all of that. I'm very excited about this. This is my end of life adventure.
I like it.
Well, we're gonna take a short break, and we're gonna come back and find out how people can start to get even more involved. So
Certainly.
We'll take a little short break and join us as we complete our conversation with Val Thompson on Liberia.
Tired of not getting what you want in bed?
Are you ready to spice things up behind those closed doors?
Woo! We're here for you every hump day at 7 p.m.
This is Sex on the Edge with Jen and Hen. I'm Jennifer Reeves.
And I'm Hendrik Scott, and we are professional licensed sex therapists.
So remember to watch us Wednesday at 7 p.m. on Edge Radio TV, just in time for sexy time.
Are you a small business owner concerned about the downturn in the economy? Top business leaders like Mattress Mac and Warren Buffett will tell you that now is the time to promote your business more than ever. People need your services. Your business needs an edge. Learn about special advertising packages for small businesses right here on Edge Radio. Find out more, give us a call at 281-744-0446. That's 281-744-0446. Edge, because truth still matters.
When people stop talking to each other, society is on the edge. Let's bring them back. Edge Radio, because truth still matters.
And we are back with Mr. Val Thompson, who's educating us on the relationship with Liberia and the U.S. And Val, I actually have a customer. I have a viewer question for you. Are you ready for it?
I'm ready.
I'm sure you can answer it. And the question is, where do you see business opportunities in Africa over the next 10 years? Seeing that other countries like China and India are doing a lot of business with Africa?
Oh, great question. The opportunities are abound. I mean, what I would like to ask the person that gave the question is, what are you doing? I mean, what would you like to see? I mean, because Liberia, if we're talking about Liberia, it's undeveloped and the opportunities are all over the place. I mean,
I was wondering, are we allowed to buy property there? I would figure land is affordable for American citizens.
Yeah, that wouldn't be bad.
Yeah.
All right.
You could be
you could, but I would lease.
Okay? Oh.
Yeah, because isn't it the African tradition? How can you own land?
Oh,
I think
ultimately, I heard something about that.
It was someone who told us that.
That sounds very familiar.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I told you that.
Oh, maybe he's the one who told us. Okay, so see, she's listening.
I think I told you. Culturally, and if there's any African immigrants listening to me, some might say, Val's not right, but I'm speaking culturally. I'm not speaking legally.
Right.
Okay?
Right.
Legally, you can. Culturally,
How can you
it's sort of like the
own?
Native Americans. They never felt like anybody should own land. And so a lot of the African indigenous people feel that same way. So if you buy the land, it's a point of contention. It's like, you know, so you always got that problem of people not really wanting to feel like you own something and own some of African,
Like
some
a
of the
person.
continent. So then it may trigger, you know, a reaction to want to, you know, get you off of it. So I would say lease. It's the same thing. I mean, if you own, you don't own anything here. You really leasing because you got to pay property taxes, right? Okay, so I would say lease. They'll give you a 9,900-year lease all day long.
Okay. So personally, if you were to do business with Liberia, what industry would you first get involved in?
Great question. There's so many that I like, you know, it's a little difficult for me to just throw one out there. Probably trading, international trading, different commodities would be a good one to get into first, you know, rather than start trying to do direct investment, you know, like buying property and all that. That would be after I've established myself in the country, you know, as a trader of some sort, make a little money so where it makes sense. I wouldn't go in saying, okay, I'm gonna buy some property because I'm gonna build this and that. I wouldn't do that immediately. No, I'd trade first.
So with our last few minutes that we have you, how can people get involved with the project, like working with you, or, you know, trying to go to Liberia with you also? So how can people get involved?
Yeah, they could work with me. I would say travel first, so you know, smell, feel, taste, get to know the people and get to understand the culture would be the first thing to do. You know, it's one thing to, you know, meet somebody here that's from Liberia and start talking about, let's do this. Now, go there on a trade mission, and you know, because once you go, then your eyes will probably open to opportunities you hadn't even thought of. You know, once you go there, because I mean, you look around, you say, "Wow, why aren't they doing this? Why aren't they doing that?" You know, and so, you know, for example, if someone would go there and open a restaurant, and not nothing big, just, you know, something small, you know, selling barbecue, for example, Texas barbecue would go crazy. And anywhere in West Africa, not just Liberia, they love Texas
even open
barbecue.
a little tea shop.
Girl, you read my mind.
Like a Starbucks, but not a Starbucks.
That's just what I was thinking, the black version.
So what's your contact information if someone wants to get in contact with you?
You could reach me. Let me give you the email first. That's vthompson@houstontrade.org. And I'll also give you my cell number. I'm not afraid. Call me anytime.
I ain't afraid.
Call me anytime. 832-526-3335 is my cell. And my office line is 832-448-0537. Want to try the website as well?
Yes.
HoustonTrade.org.
That's easy. HoustonTrade.org.
HoustonTrade.org. That's
and
the
if
website.
there are
you get information off of there and become a member.
Oh, yes.
Become a member of Houston International Trade Development.
I need to call you afterwards so you can walk me through the process, because I definitely want to be a member.
Yes. I guess we got to start saving our money.
Yeah, we got to start saving up. We've got till November. Oh yeah, we got to go.
Yeah, we can
Our
start
producer is giving us the red eye.
So as now we like to have our guests always drop a little nugget, something that they can share words of wisdom with our viewers. So could you drop us a little nugget, a little wisdom? What you got, Mr.
Okay. Well, you know, I offer today my perspective as an African American for our history, but it's international history. And I would say, you know, always look at your history and let it be a guide to your future, because anything that happened in the past can certainly happen again.
Perfect.
And exactly. Thank you.
That is the truth. Val Thompson, thank you so much.
Well, thank you so much.
I'm pretty sure we're going to bring you back again.
You know we are.
Oh, I got more for you. I got more
He's
for
got
you.
a lot of hats.
By all means, I got more for you. Thank you for having me.
Well, thank you
Yeah,
so
we
much.
appreciate it. All right, guys.
It's my pleasure.
Thank you. We
My pleasure.
glad you all stuck around today. We look forward to seeing you again next Monday. And in the meantime, we always got to ask, how you living?
Peace.